Moving on with the Lake Personal Lab tutorial videos. I believe we're on video 8 here, and here's the good news. We're on to system optimization. The system is set up. So we're going to have to tune, time align and calibrate, optimize the mains and subs. We're going to put some filters in and get that going. And so let's dive back into Lake. And we're going to just dive into the mains here and put some high pass filters on it. And I'm going to go home. Once I'm at home, anytime I click on a module, it'll bring it into the processing. And you can move around between these different tabs. There's the level tab, and when you hit the EQ tab, you will see a variety of different EQ processors. The parametric EQ, the band limiting EQ, is that what it is? Band EQ, and this, of course, you're viewing only. This is the EQ that's being applied by the group. We want to start with the high pass filter. We're going to put in, I believe it's a third order. Let's check out the instructions. A third order Butterworth at 90 hertz. Okay, we're doing the crossover between the mains and the subs. So let's do that. You're going to have to turn on the high pass filter. So high pass filter enable. And you can drag this around to 90 hertz if you want. You can also hit filter edit and just type in 90 hertz pretty quick. Enter. And we want to change this to a third order Butterworth. So let's do HPF select and find an 18 dB Butterworth and hit high pass filter set. And you should see this. There we go. 18 dB Butterworth. And that's going to be our crossover between the mains and the subs. Let's go back to the instructions and see what else is next. That's pretty cool. And let's do the opposite filter on the subs. So the mains are good, and at home exit. Oh, here's an interesting thing. I only did that on the mains left. You can't group the high pass, low pass filters. If you would have, I would have made a group between the mains that would have done it. And the high pass filters do not show up in the groups for system EQs. So you're going to have to put that same filter on the mains right as well. So again, high pass filter enable. And let's move it, filter edit. Let's put it at 90 hertz. And we need to make it to a third order. High pass filter select. Butterworth. I'm not saying that's a good crossover or anything. I randomly picked these. We're just, HPF set. Say yes. And there you go. We've done that. So both sides of the mains now have the same filter. Now we want to put the opposite filter on the subs. So we'll go into the subs, and it's not going to be a high pass filter this time. It's going to be a low pass filter. And the HPF enabled, by the way, is in 2 locations, but the LPF is only in 1 spot. So we're going to turn that on. Of course, you can drag this down to 90 hertz, or you can filter edit and type in 90. And let's make sure it's the right filter. LPF select, 18 dB Butterworth, LPF set, say yes, and now we've crossed over the mains and the subs. I believe there's a few more tweaks to do to this. No, that's it for the mains and the subs. Oh, we're going to delay the subs by 6.5 milliseconds. So I'm going to go back into Lake. This time we're going to the Levels tab. Delay hides in the Levels tab. And it's actually a separate page. You have to hit the delay button. And I believe I just said 18 milliseconds. Let's unmute some of these outputs while we're at it. We're going to want them unmuted. And we can control them with the group. So I put in 18 milliseconds. So while I'm at it, I'm actually going to go in and unmute the mains. You can tell they're muted there. They got those little red dots there. So let's go in and unmute the mains left, and we'll unmute the mains right. And I'm going to just unmute the fills while I'm at it. It's a little bit out of order from the instructions, but that's okay. Now I can go mute the whole system really easily here by going boop on the group, and now they're all muted with the group. So that's kind of cool. You can do it either way. So we've delayed the subs and unmuted everything and made a crossover between the mains and subs. And now we're going to go put let's see what's next on the instructions. We're going to get the front fills going. Did I delay the subs? 6.5 milliseconds on the subs? Did I make a mistake? I think I put the wrong time on the subs. Did you catch that? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Let's go check the subs. 6. I put way too much delay on that. 6.5 is the actual number. Cool, there you go. And now going back to the instructions, we're going to move on to the front fills, the fills here. And we're going to put a 200 hertz high pass filter, a second order LR. So we'll go ahead and do that. So back to Lake. And the fills need a high pass filter on, so we'll go to the EQ tab and HPF enable. We're going to move it to 200 hertz. And I said it was a second order high pass filter. So high pass filter select, make it a 12 dB Butterworth. And this, of course, is, I did this on purpose. If you remember, the HPF at 12 dB Butterworth is going to create 180, is going to create 90 degrees of phase shift. Therefore, we need to invert the polarity of one side of it. So actually it doesn't make any sense at all because it would need a 90 degree on both sides would require inverted polarity. The instructions are asking you to invert the polarity, so we'll go ahead and do that anyway. So there's a little error in my instruction, but whatever. To invert the polarity, you hit the polarity button on the fills, and it won't let me because I have to enable polarity. So we'll do that. And let's see, I think there were a couple other tweaks left on the front fills. Invert the polarity, and turn the fills down by 12 dB and do a 4K shelve down by 3. So let's turn the level down by 12 dB. So our gain here, again, you could slide the fader, or you could type in -12. And it asked for a shelf on the filter. That's to make, perhaps to make this front fill have the same tonality as the mains. We can go to a PEQ for that, a parametric EQ. We can drag down a shelf. This is kind of cool. This is how Lake works. Drag the shelf down. You can set it to 4K. You can't type that number in until you hit filter edit. Then you should be able to. I'm sorry, it's right here. 4K. 4000. Or I could have just slid it down. And you can also grab the red number here and move it up or down. And so move it down by 4. So we now have a 4K shelf down by 3 dB. I meant to do -3. I'm going to click on that and do -3. Going back to the instructions, anything else? Oh, we got to time align those poor fills. And here's the catch. There are two different front fills, and they're in different locations. And so the infills and the outfills require different delay times. So the infills need 18, and the outfills need 8. And here's the catch here is that you can't do the delay here in the fills processor because it is a single channel for both fills. So this means you need to go back out here, and instead of doing the delay on the system processor, we're going to want to do it actually at the amplifier on those other frames. So the infills needed 18, so we're going to go into there and go to our delay page and type in 18 milliseconds. And our exit back out, and our outfills only needed 8, if I recall correctly. So obviously the real system alignment process would be much slower. You'd be working with Smart, you'd be measuring things and doing all that. But that's not really the point of this assignment. The point of this assignment is to kind of get familiar with the processor. So let's go back to the instructions. And I got everything done except the fun stuff. The fun stuff is totally creative at this point. Now you get to EQ the PA as you want. Pretend yourself as the front of house engineer and you want to process it. Obviously, you want to use the system EQ for this because this will apply the same EQ and therefore same phase shift across all 4 outputs. And go to the EQ tab, and this is the fun part. Do some cool stuff. Maybe you want to drag in a high frequency shelf and add a little lift to it. Maybe you want to drag it down. a parametric filter at 250. Maybe you want to cut. Maybe you want to make it a little wider. Actually, to do that, hit Filter Edit, and you can change the bandwidth of that, 1.6. Let's make it a little wider. I think you can actually tweak those. And here's the best thing of all. Take out Filter Edit. This guy right here is the sweetest thing of all. This is the asymmetric Mesa filter that Lake is famous for, and it has different slope on both sides. Check it out. We can boost it. It looks symmetrical at that point. But by tweaking with these white lines here, you can actually make the slope different on different sides. So that's pretty cool, right? And I'm just playing with filters. Feel free to do the same. I won't grade you in any way for how you do them. And there is one last thing I want you to do, and that is play with the graphic. And the graphic by default doesn't show up. You have to do that by, I think, going to EQ Overlay Functions, New EQ Overlay, and then turn on the graphic. And then it shows up as an option. Then you exit that page, and you will see. Now, of course, we can put in some weird graphics. And this is interesting to move between them. I believe this guy moves between the different bands. I think arrow keys move between the bands as well. There's all sorts of shortcuts and stuff I'm not showing you in this program. And the very last thing is to kind of see how this EQ works together. This was all the system EQ. And the system EQ is applied on top of any EQ that you're doing in the module. So if we look at an EQ that has a module that already has EQ, like the fills, and go into the fills, now you can see this curve is actually a combination curve of the EQ being applied at the module, and this is the system EQ. And you can quickly move between these tabs and see what's going on. For example, this is the system EQ, graphic EQ, this is the system group parametric EQ, and these are the on the module EQs. So anyway, I hope this helps. I'm going to look back at the here and anything else. All you got to do to turn this in is save it, and I will find it. Make sure, I would prefer it on the nice new LiveSmart PC, but I will open up both to make sure, in case you worked on the other machine, that it's there. And if you did this at home, you need to find a way to import that and make sure it's readable by the Live Sound Dell PC. I'm going to go ahead and save it. I think you already know how to do that, but system store recall, store system, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal. And that's great. See you on the flip side.